Hi there. Welcome to the Imperfect Profit podcast for women who wonder. Frankly, as we go through life, I'm sure we wonder about a great deal. First as little kids, then as adolescents, then as young women, then as transitional women. What are we calling ourselves these days? And then you get to this point in life, or my point in life, when you're postmenopausal and wondering what's next. Wondering if the parade already passed you by. Join me, Wonder Wendy. I'm going to be your host as we talk about some of these unique challenges that face women today in a new millennium, going through menopause and trying to live a rich, full life. There might even be a few men and younger women that want to listen in too. That's okay. But there's a roller coaster and we're all on it. And I'm going to be your guide to help you figure out when you should close your eyes, when you should hang on, and maybe we'll explore some ideas for what works for you if it doesn't work for me, or vice versa. So join the conversation, pick up your favorite beverage, and we'll talk to you soon. Welcome to the Imperfect Prophet. Hey there. Welcome to another episode of the Imperfect Prophet with me, your host, Wonder Wendy. Have you ever sat down at one of those little cafe tables and every time you touch it, you put an elbow there or your knee hits it or whatever, the whole thing starts to shift. It's like a ship in a heavy sea. So your beverage, when it's finally delivered, looks like it might spill at any second, and forget trying to cut anything. As soon as you start to use a utensil, the whole table is like an earthquake fault line. It's kind of crazy. Made me think about what we do when life isn't quite as steady as we want it to be. And how do you solve that table? Now, so often, there are these little coaster thingies, and you can just pull one up and slide one or two under that wobbly leg, and suddenly the whole table is steady again. It's pretty wild that something so little, or maybe even a couple little napkins, just piled up underneath there, suddenly make it so your drink isn't in danger of capsizing, and you can actually cut into whatever you're trying to eat. It's perfect. What's the lesson to be learned there? Small, simple shifts can change everything. Even the tiniest adjustments can have a surprising impact. Now, this past week, one of my friends, she'd been trying to move her business for several months now, and then suddenly she got the green light. Everything started to move, and she had to do the move in a very short period of time. And of course, when you're under that level of stress, whatever can go wrong does go wrong. There are delays, broken air conditioning, missing furniture. The stress is getting higher. And she started to spiral every time something went wrong, which was at least once a day. I would get a panicked text message, and you could hear it in her voice. What if I fail? What if I can't pay my bills? What if I end up homeless? Entrepreneurship isn't always about just not having a job. It's about the buck stops here. And each time I would encourage her to breathe, talk through solutions. We'd reframe the panic a little bit. And guess what? She opened on time. And each time it was a small, steady pivot, if you would, that she had to make. When one contractor didn't show up, she knew she wouldn't open on time. But then she went back to her Rolodex and remembered there was a guy who she'd worked with in the past who was really good at odd jobs around the place. And he showed up like a magical fairy in the middle of the night and fixed her workplace. It was tremendous. She went from panic on one day to, oh, look, I got this. So with each calm decision, there's another coaster under that leg of the table. It gets steady. I will tell you, at one point, she actually considered using cardboard boxes instead of the furniture that she wasn't sure she was able to get. That would have been a very temporary fix. But you know what? She still would have opened on time. She still would have paid her bills. I'm sure her clients, who appreciate her services, would have been all too willing to tolerate a couple cardboard boxes so that they could have her service, right? So let's talk about these lessons we've learned. Temporary solutions can work short term. What's the biggest challenge? You need to calm the spiral. You won't be able to solve everything. Things are going to go wrong. Just when it looked like things were great, we were going into the hottest weekend of 2025. And her air conditioning broke down. Well, you can't work in that environment. Your clients can't be relaxed in that kind of environment. But guess what? They put in a temporary air conditioning unit. Okay. Is it the most attractive thing? No, it's like having a little mini R2-D2 in the corner of the room, and it's nowhere near as cute as R2-D2. But guess what? She got her room to proper temperature and started seeing clients. Oh, and let's not forget, supporting someone else is a gift to yourself that you will get back eventually. You're probably going to need that friend again sometime in the future. And because you've helped them, they'll help you. It all works out that way. So don't be afraid to help others because it will come back to you tenfold. Remember what I say, surrounding yourself with the right people is part of the bucket list life. If you're going to live a life with purpose and a full life, you need steady footing and steady friends. Sometimes they're just that coaster to get you through that temporary moment, right? Okay, so there's a second lesson here, though. When the napkin under the table becomes permanent, there's a danger of adapting too well to that dysfunction. And guess what? If your restaurant is cleaned thoroughly every night, that coaster is going to get washed away. So you need to have a better solution in mind for the long term, even though those short-term solutions will get you through. Don't let those small annoyances ruin your day. But you need to have long-term solutions. The little things happen. You know what happens? That guy, that person, we won't say it's a guy necessarily because some women do it too. It's not just a guy thing. But that person who cuts you off in traffic. Okay, you can choose to let that ruin your day. But really, in the big picture, is that going to make you any later than you already were? Are you still on track for success? Yeah, let it go. Now, if you end up stuck with 10 people cutting you off, you have a right to be slightly annoyed, and that's a really frustrating day. But it's still not the end of the world. It's not going to ruin your life. How about that morning when you wake up, you make your coffee, and you open the fridge, and there's no milk? Your morning routine is shattered because there is no milk. Okay, shattered may be an extreme word, but it feels like that at that moment, doesn't it? It really does. So let those things go. Or call that friend, that lifeline, and say, you're not going to believe what happened. Here's the magic trick. Find a way to laugh about it. I know you want to cry, but I always knew I'd succeeded with my daughters when I managed to turn tears to laughter. Even if their eyes are still red, there's still wetness on their cheeks. We turn those tears to laughter, and it's delightful. You know the feeling, right? Exactly. And if you don't know the feeling, find a friend who can make you laugh no matter what is going on. This is an off-color story, and I don't know if I should tell it. It's definitely a digression that wasn't in my notes, but it just came into my mind. Years ago, a friend of mine had a lot too much to drink at an event. And I brought them home, and they said they had to go to the bathroom. They weren't feeling well. Not surprising, considering how much they'd had to drink. And when I went into the bathroom, let's say they needed to expel some of the liquor through the top end, and it didn't quite make it to the toilet. So there was toilet, there was a little bit of an island mass. They're not a water mass, just, you know what it is. It's vomit. Next to the toilet. And then my friend who is face down on the floor. It wasn't a pretty sight. It didn't smell good. And so, fortunately, I had a good friend who could make me laugh, who was helping me with said drunk friend. We pulled drunk friend out of bathroom, put them in comfortable space. Now we had to deal with bathroom. Or actually, it was my house, so I felt I needed to deal with the bathroom. But funny friend started following me around with Lysol to freshen the air and being very comedic about it. And while I was still very, very angry at the friend who'd left me to clean up vomit on the bathroom floor, and I was not pleased to be doing this particular activity, I was laughing. So thank you, sir, for making me laugh when that had happened. But that's about the coaster, not the long-term solution. How many of you are in places that are cardboard boxes instead of the furniture you need? Are you staying in relationships, jobs, situations that you've outgrown? Do you need to deal with that? Remember, good enough isn't always good for you. Now, I'm not saying that relationship has to go. That's actually an easy fix. We're just going to throw out the cardboard boxes and move on. But you've still got the contents of those boxes, which is perfectly good. And maybe you actually need some of those contents. Is there a way to take what you need and put it in a new container, a new shelving unit, as it were? Or maybe tell this person that you're in a relationship with, I love these things about you. I want to be with you because of these things, but we need to put it into a new context. Can you help me with this? Those are tough conversations. And hopefully you're in a relationship with that person that provides you room for restructuring so that you can have the best situation for you and for them. Because guess what? Chances are you're not satisfied. They're not really fully satisfied either. I know. And that goes for jobs, relationships, any number of situations. You know, you may be living in a place that isn't suiting your needs anymore, but moving is so hard. Do I really want to move? Well, then you are still making a choice. You are making a choice that moving is harder than the situation you're in. So you've chosen to commit to the situation you're in. I know, pretty scary, isn't it? Just like my friend who wanted to get out of her old location because it wasn't suiting her needs anymore and wanted to move into a new location. It took months of search, months of research, and she also had to get out of a lease in her old location. And for a while there, she thought it wasn't going to happen. She really did think she was going to lose everything. It's really hard to help a friend through that, by the way. Here's the good news. She eventually found a solution. And there's a solution for you, too. You know that trite song from Annie, the sun will come out tomorrow. In most places, in most times, the sun will come out tomorrow. And if not tomorrow, maybe the next day. Okay, sometimes when it's foggy in London, it feels like the sun will never come out again, but it will eventually come out again. So we all spiral. That is the biggest part of this lesson. The tables shake. It's going to happen. Every time they move those cafe tables in a restaurant, they get jiggled, they get restabilized, they get bent, they get tweaked, people lean on them. So many things happen. There will be wobbly cafe tables, and they can be fixed with something as simple as a coaster the vast majority of the time. That is only a temporary fix, not a permanent fix. And we need to make sure that we aren't relying long-term on the temporary fixes. Do the rebuilding when necessary. Oh, and remember, when you help someone else through their spiral, chances are they'll be there for you when you are in a spiral. And if they're not, well, that's another time when you maybe need to move the cardboard boxes out and put in better furniture. Oh, bucket listers, we are people who are committed to living our fullest lives. And it's not that easy all the time, but we're not just going to survive. We're going to live great lives. And doing this, stabilizing and rebuilding together, we are anchored in people, possibility, and purpose. We have this. So, as we end this episode, I want to ask you a question. Do you know where you are wobbly? Sometimes it's not as easy as you'd think it would be. I mean, when the table wobbles, you see it. You see your drink, the waves in your drink every time somebody nudges a table. You know you can't cut your sandwich without feeling like you're going to dump your friend's lunch in their lap. Those are really obvious. But sometimes when you're wobbly in your life, you're so focused on survival that you forget that you should be fixing it. And then there are the temporary fixes we've put in place. Well, we're just not going to talk about this awkward situation because, well, it's awkward and I don't want to talk about it. And if we ignore it, maybe it'll go away. And there are times when it will go away. Not all the time, really very often. But sometimes, if we ignore a situation, it'll go away. And you need to decide if that's the coaster or it's something that needs to be a little bit dismantled and maybe tightened up. And tightening up can take a sledgehammer or it can take just a screwdriver. Sometimes different tools for different situations. Are you in a situation where you need to rebuild instead of just patching it? So this week, as we move forward, I challenge you to find an imbalance and make a small, intentional change in your life. Do you think you can do that? And if you're really brave, come back to me and send me a message. Let me know what you addressed, how you addressed it. Did it work out? I'd love to hear your stories and share, well, not necessarily share them with everybody, but learn from them and help us all get better together. What do you think about that idea? So the next time you sit down at a wobbly cafe table and you see a coaster on the bar, think about the solutions that you have in your back pocket. Think about the resources you have in your life. Be grateful for those solutions. Be grateful for those resources. And know that it's not an earthquake. It's just a leg that needs to be fixed, whether it's temporary or permanent solutions. Until next week, I'm Wonder Wendy, the imperfect prophet, if you will. And I hope you have a wonderful week. And I look forward to hearing from you. Stay hydrated. It's getting warmer, especially if you're here in Arizona with me. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Like what you heard here today? Then we should be friends. I suggest you join my Facebook group. It's a good way to connect. We can have a conversation. Ask me questions, whatever you want to do. It is called the Wonderful Bucket List Life. That's Wonder-Full Bucket List Life. Be a bucket lister and join me on this adventure. Or you can go to my webpage, which is Wonder Wendy and Friends. Join the mailing list, learn about the book I wrote, adventures that are coming up in the future, and other podcasts. I look forward to talking to you soon, and stay hydrated. Have a great day.